Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
Welcome back for another spin around the world in 80 plays. I'm Alfie Parker, and that's
Lizzie B.
And in every generation there is a chosen one, and she is Dolly the Vampire Slayer.
Sorry, I'm just crunching on a crunchy shiitake mushroom. They're really nice.
Woof woof. This week, Alfie, aka me, has been merrily rolled along to Derry / Londonderry for the 12th stop of the Sister Act UK and Ireland tour, while Lizzie is playing Ring Around the Rosary at the Dominion Theatre for Sister Act the Musical's return to the West End stage. For our new listeners, we're exploring the UK and Ireland's wonderful arts history and culture as we make our way from city to city with Sister Act the Musical, apparently. Right, so, Lizzie, how's this week been for you? Any news, announcements? The crunch sounds lovely.
Very crunchy. Well, we're in rehearsals, so it's just interesting being back rehearsing the show again. This is my third rehearsal process for Sister Act. But it's really exciting because I think we're going to have a lot of new bits put in for this production. So, yeah, just deep in rehearsals.
No, exciting.
10 till 6 every day.
Like a real grown-up job.
Yeah, you know me.
You're so grown up nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really exciting. And hopefully with you going back into rehearsals, we can hopefully talk about how, even though we're doing the same production, it's going to be different.
Mine's better.
For all our listeners, that's not true because I'm in the tour. We could definitely discuss the differences between our productions at some point. I think it's very interesting. And obviously, when you tour, you are limited on what you can do because one week you're in a venue that seats 2,500 people and it's got all the bells and whistles, and the next week you're performing somewhere where all the sets cut and there's a curtain. And nothing can get flown, and it's all very exciting, and the speakers are broken, etc., etc. So we can, I'm sure at some point we can talk about that. So, how's Dolly been?
Oh, I'm on some fancy shoes now.
That's nice.
It's been great.
That's good.
I'm in the middle of rehearsals. I've got to eat when I can.
Yeah, fine. Well, we'll let you off.
Dolly's been good. She's literally been with the dog sitter every day because I can't take her to rehearsals, boo. But like we were saying last time, my dog sitter's amazing, and Dolly's very happy there. And I still get to cuddle her in bed at night, so it's all good.
Well, that's very nice. And how is everyone in rehearsals? Do they all really miss me? Because for our listeners, I have worked with a lot of them before on the first leg of the tour, and then the second, of course. Do they all really miss me?
No, because now we've got Duke from Tracy Beaker back.
Oh, curse you, Clive Rowe, Olivier superstar. One day I'll be up there, maybe. I actually don't want to be. To be honest, I do. But working with Clive is and was, even though it was brief, a highlight of my career. Love you, Clive Rowe. You're an icon if you're listening.
He's a legend.
He's an absolute icon. Enough about that West End glitter and glamour. Should we talk about the tour?
Jealous.
I was in the West End 8 years ago.
And never back since.
And never again.
While I am on my 4th West End contract.
I don't know. Yeah, but like Hairspray was like a limited run. Does that count?
You tell me, Alfie, do you think it counts?
Well, let's talk about the tour. So this week we're in Londonderry / Derry, which is in Northern Ireland. Now, how I got there, I hear you all ask. We travelled to Derry on the company coach.
Woo!
Oh, how exciting. I felt like an absolute rock star sat on that bad boy. We were on there for 3 and a bit hours and we had a 15-minute toilet break. I like to give you all the info, of course. Yeah, we had a little 15-minute stop off where you can get a roast dinner. I didn't. What did I get? Some chicken, I think. Chicken.
That's not like you.
It might have been chicken and chips. It seems to be what I live.
Whenever I ask Alfie what he's eating, what's the answer?
Chicken and rice, actually, normally.
Chicken and rice for them bare gains, bro.
No, I had chicken and chips from Supermax.
Oh.
Yeah, it was very tasty. And this week I'm staying in a lovely little bed and breakfast in Derry, which I got off of Airbnb. It's fabulous. So basically, I'll explain. She sells it like a B&B, only it's in her house and I'm in the spare room and she provides breakfast. So I guess it is a B&B, but not in kind of the wider sense.
There aren't other people there as well.
Yeah, it's just me. And every morning I've been getting a full Irish, which is very lovely. A bit of white pudding, some sausages, some bacon, some black pudding. Apologies for all of our vegan, pescatarian, vegetarian, non-meat eating listeners. I love meat and it was very, very tasty. I'm going to be rolling onto the stage later this week.
Because he's a growing lad.
Yeah, it's been lovely. The digs are lovely. Derry's very nice. There's quite a divide here with Catholic and Protestant.
Are you in a religious musical?
I am. Catholic and Protestants. And all of the religious humour in the show has been landing very well, but it's going to in a place like Derry. Well, let me talk to you a bit about the theatre. Let me go back on my notes if that's right. No.
Audience reception. Oh, yeah, it is about the theatre.
Lizzie, please.
Soz.
What are you eating now?
Just eating me sauerkraut.
Oh, no, not that stinky sauerkraut. We have been performing at the Millennium Forum, not to be confused with the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, please. Please.
I would do a Chewie impression. Was that good?
I'm actually embarrassed.
Yes, let me tell you about the Millennium Forum Theatre.
Oh, please. Please do.
It seats 1,020. Woohoo! And I thought I was going to have a lot to talk about this week about the theatre because I kind of assumed the theatre in Derry would be quite old. It opened in 2001.
Right.
I can tell you it was a £14 million project.
Blimey.
I know. The Forum is actually the 13th theatre to be built in the city since the first purpose-built theatre was in the Ship Quay in 1774. Did you know that Oscar Wilde performed in 1884 in an older theatre in Derry?
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Oscar Wilde is up and coming for our listeners if you don't know. New on the scene.
Slay, Oscar. Slay. Big slay.
Oscar, you better eat. You better eat that sauerkraut, baby.
You better work, Oscar. Do you remember the Oscar Wilde quote from Kinky Boots? As Oscar Wilde once said, be yourself.
Oh, be yourself. Everybody else is already taken.
Very good.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What a show. That's where we met. Look at that. Now look at us podcasting.
It's where Alfie fell madly in love with me.
That's true. And that's where you realise that I was just such a hot piece of meat. Right. This is This is hot off the website. The orders. I don't actually know why I've written this down, but I'll read it now. The auditorium is split into 3 levels. The stalls are located on the ground floor and are on a flat floor.
Oh, for God's sake.
The circle is the first balcony and the upper circle is the second balcony.
What is this? Theatre layouts for dummies?
They both have steps to access seats and are tiered.
Thank God.
We have a number of... crying. We have a number of wheelchair accessible spaces throughout the auditorium. I don't know if you can get a grasp of that, but that goes to show there wasn't a lot to talk about. Yet again, guys, it's been another relatively new venue.
I think the listeners love it when you're in charge of the hosting because they get such quality information as this.
What am I meant to say? Look now, spoiler alert, next week we're at a different venue, shock horror.
Whoa.
Yeah. Next week I can actually talk about things because there's going to be some history there. I know it's an older venue, so I'll put my thinking cap on and I'll work it out. So yeah, that's the venue. I tried to find who designed it. I couldn't find anything. There's no history. What are my sources? The website, if you just type in Londonderry Millennium Centre, it'll come up and I clicked that. Wikipedia, sometimes there's a little drop-down box that says like history. It doesn't exist. So I couldn't even use Wiki. There was nothing there. But yeah, it's a nice theatre. A bit small.
Let's just put it this way. Not a lot of tours go to Derry.
Yes. I think it's probably worth saying that. Derry, I wouldn't say is exactly a big hitter on the UK and Ireland. Not a lot of stuff goes there. Will our show be going back? I'm not sure. I don't think so. But the show has gone down very well. And actually, I've really enjoyed Derry thus far. And I would come back. People are very nice. I've been told what pubs I should and shouldn't go into. Not that I've gone into any.
Which is good for someone who doesn't drink.
It's really good. And yeah, overall, it's been a very nice time. And if you check out our social medias, you will find exclusive photographs of many of the theatres we visit, courtesy of Rocky Horror Show legend Christian Lavercombe, who has performed as Riff Raff mostly, but also Frank, Brad, and narrator for just over 96,000 performances. So be sure to follow him on the social medias. I can't actually remember how many performances he's done. I'm guessing he must have done about 4 million. Christian Lavercombe, you're an icon. You're up there with Clive Rowe for me. What a guy. But before we get on to this week's tour feature and what Dolly got up to this week, we're going to take a short ad break.
Why are you such a mess?
There's nothing, honestly, most exciting thing on that website was that the stalls are flat. What am I meant to...
We're back with Thresh and Treasure. I'm Mr. J-Wags. That's Aaron, the village idiot, as he likes to be called. Say hi, Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
And we are reuniting with the lyricist who is dearest to our hearts, Glenn Slater. So, Glenn, what is one thing you fail at miserably that everyone else seems to do perfectly well?
Okay, interesting question. So I'm basically like a brain in a jar. And so very simple things like dancing or gymnastics. If you ask me to do a simple forward roll, yeah, I cannot do that. If you ask me to do like a very simple line dance, days will go by before I do it correctly. I have absolutely no ability to follow very simple physical instructions.
Yet I see a piano behind you, which means I'm assuming you have enough piano skill to be able to have limb interdependence to do that.
I have some piano skills, not very good ones, but I have some piano skills. I happen to be married to a composer.
Yep.
And she has fantastic piano skills. She's a like a full-fledged jazz piano expert as well as a composer. So the piano is mostly for her to impress me with, which she does on a nightly basis.
I love that. But Aaron, I know you wanted to talk a bit more about Sister Act before we got out of here.
This UK revival production, which is opening in Australia when this episode drops, has been a phenomenal success. And I can't help but wonder how much of that is all because you've cast the superstar Lizzie B.
You know, Lizzie is fantastic. And we've actually, that role over the years, we've had a lot of like pretty major stars. When we opened on Broadway, it was Marla Mindell, who has since written and starred in Titanic, which I think is also coming to Australia soon.
Yep.
Which is this amazingly hilarious parody of Titanic using the Celine Dion catalog. Lizzie B, obviously, very different performer with a very different style. But just, I mean, that voice and that presence she's amazing and brings so much to the role. So yeah, I mean, we're really lucky. And, I can't wait to see who's stepping into the role in Australia.
I did look it up, but look, I work with Lizzie and her partner Alfie, who is also in Sister Act, touring as Eddie Souther. I produced their podcast, which I created, and I messaged them and said, "Hey, you guys ever thought about doing a podcast?" Because I could see there's a certain charisma between the two of them, that they're just really charming and they've got a certain something when they're together. And they thought about it and they said, "Yeah, let's do it." And so the show is about them touring in Sister Act. So I have been promoting your show for you. You're welcome, Glenn.
Thank you.
And they are not only just incredibly professional and incredibly talented and charming, as I say. Alfie, he could make millions doing audiobooks for one thing. Lizzie is just a sassable, and I love her so much, but they are just beautiful people, and I'm so thrilled to be working with them. And you cast Jonathan, so thank you for casting my friends.
Yeah, I mean, how smart was that? And by the way, I'm not surprised that he's like ad-libbing all over your script, because that's what you did in Dewey in School of Rock. Just bringing that like freestyle energy is so important to that role.
Yeah.
So,
oh man, like that was times 10 the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Doing Dewey Finn.
But you were brilliant.
Well, thank you. It's really rare for a person of this body to be told, "Oh no, everything you are is exactly what we are looking for." That almost never happens.
Yeah. Well, and it's such a hard role because you're basically in every scene and you're singing at like full force endlessly. And yet you also have to kind of be like sort of alert enough and aware enough to be doing those ad libs and to be working off the kids and to kind of be in the moment and not just kind of working through the script. So to have that kind of both the fortitude and the agility at the same time that's an unusual combination.
One last thing I want to throw in there. As I said before, you've employed Jonathan and Lizzie and Alfie. So when's it my turn?
Well, What kind of a piece do you want to be in? How do we get you in there?
And we're back with Around the World in 80 Plays. I'm Alfie Parker, and that's...
his better half, Lizzie B.
Wow, like a knife. And this week, the nuns have become Derry girls with Sister Act the musical, currently preying on the innocent people of Londonderry. Yeah, that's us. This week is our tour feature. Da, 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 da. We're going to be talking about lighting and sound, who they are, what they do, where they are, why they do it, and how they do it. Who is on the Sister Act tech team? Well, this is a good question because we can kind of discuss this from both sides. Have you been introduced to the tech team properly? Kasim, you're in rehearsals?
We will have all of like the designers back. So you probably met Tim, who's the head of lighting, an icon. And then Tom Marshall is the sound designer. And then long-haired Si, head of sound.
Yeah, nice.
Simon will love that I've just called him that on here because I've worked with Simon non-stop for about 3 years and he has got lovely long ginger hair.
It is nice. He keeps saying he's going to cut it off, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But he ain't. He's not going to. He's gorgeous. Lovely hair. Our teams, we've got Phil, head of LX, Will, head of sounds, a bit like Bill and Ben. Phil and Will. And then we've got Erin.
Or Phil and Lil from Rugrats.
They look similar, actually. For our listeners, if you don't know what Rugrats is, I recommend looking that up. Nothing to do with the podcast, but it's Lizzie's favourite. Yes, so we've got Will.
Especially the Rugrats video game where the snowmen chase Chucky and go, "You can't get me."
Yeah, I recommend. That's good, actually. May I talk about the sound team?
Yeah, but we're talking about Rugrats now.
This is the Rugrats feature. Sorry, Will. No time for you.
Did everyone in school used to play it on the keyboard in music lessons? Yeah, see, Aaron's saying yes. That's where it was at.
Aaron, live in studio, our producer. Yes, says Aaron. Aaron's saying that he played it in school when we were about 2 years old. Yeah, probably Aaron is so old. Yeah, if you haven't heard of Rugrats, sort it out, guys. Aaron says we were the Rugrats. We were.
I wish I was Angelica. Alfie was without a doubt Tommy Pickles, and he still looks the same. And his big nap.
I'm wearing a nappy now for our listeners.
We know.
Right, where were we? Let's talk about tech teams.
Talking about Rugrats.
No. Right, let's do it. Sound, we've got Will, sound number 1.
Okay, well, to make it fun, can we say what Rugrats characters they would be?
If I don't really know Rugrats names. Do you know them?
I do.
Okay, well, Will, sound number 1.
Chucky.
Erin, sound number 2.
I'm going to say Lil.
Nathan, sound number 3.
I've never met Nathan, so we'll just make him Phil.
He's not a Phil. I know which one Phil is. Oh, no, actually, yeah, he could be a Phil. Nice. Okay, that's sound. And now we've got LX. There's only 2 of them. Phil.
I'm going to say he's Stu Pickles, the dad.
Yeah, he'll like that. And then we've got Rob.
Rob can be Reptar.
Perfect. That's our sound team and our LX team, our lighting team on tour. We also have some tech swings called Ben and Woody, aka James, but Woody's much cooler. They're very, very clever people, and if anyone's ill, they can do LX or they can do sound. They can basically cover all tech departments. Woody has also been our stage manager sometimes, so they're very, very busy.
Busy little Rugrats.
Though, you know what those Rugrats are like? This is actually going to be quite an interesting segment, I think, because the differences between doing it in one place and doing it on tour, I think, are quite drastic. And I actually have a quote from Phil, our head of LX.
Blimey.
I bet no one was expecting this. Alfie's done his research. Alfie's done his homework. So this is verbatim from Phil Massingham, our head of LX on the tour. And here we go. As the head of lighting on tour, it's my responsibility to recreate the lighting designer's vision week in, week out, as the LD doesn't tour with us, lighting designer. Obviously, there's a lot of trust between myself and the designer. It's important that we have a good relationship and we are able to discuss things throughout the tour. This involves some basic things like ensuring the equipment is maintained to a serviceable condition, as well as ensuring that the lights are rigged in the same position every week. This isn't always possible as venues differ and rigging positions change every week. That's when it gets complicated. While my team are working on getting the extras working, like smoke machines and set practicals, for Sister Act, this means all lights in the portals. I sit and relight the show. This encompasses going throughout every lighting preset, of which we have over 600, and updating them so the light is hitting the right place on stage. This takes about 4 hours, sometimes longer. It's important that I work closely with stage management and the rest, and the resident director, dance captain, so we can discuss positions for set and cast in an ever-changing environment. I think it's important to note that although my job is very technical, I count myself as an engineer more than an artist. The artistic integrity of the design has to be at the forefront of everything I do. It's easy to get bogged down in the nuts and bolts, but I truly believe the theatre is a collaboration between all departments, and if one cog in the machine stops working, it creates problems. The hours are long. I average between 50 and 60 per week, and the work can be hard going, particularly during get-ins and get-outs. And what we do is absolutely crazy when you boil it down. We basically play make-believe for a living, but I love it. I love the chaos and the idea that the show is the thing that everyone is working towards, that common goal. I can't imagine doing anything more rewarding than facilitating this particular madness and the feeling of having the audience give a standing ovation and knowing that everyone here was a part of that, however small, is still an adrenaline rush after 14 years in the industry.
Do you know what, Phil? Big slay.
I hope I did that justice, Phil. I actually wrote back to him and said, this is iconic, because he said, sorry, that's long. Just pick out what you want. And I said, absolutely not. This is iconic and I'm going to use all of it. So that was from our head of lighting, Phil. I've also spoken to our head of sound, Will, but he's been very busy and I didn't get anything back from him. But what I did get is that they would be very open, and hopefully, Aaron, they'd be very keen on potentially trying to come on and actually talk about it. So hopefully we can sort that out at some point. But they're both super iconic. And I think it's important to note that as well as they are very clever and technically they have to know the show inside and out, there's a lot of people management that goes with that. It's very stressful. They get minimal time every week. Basically on a Monday, we come in a few hours early before the show. We come in at 4:00 and the lights have just gone up and the sound team are looking at, what speakers we have available and where they're hitting, because that's all different, and what monitors we get. And then we do a tech rehearsal for about 2 hours and then the show happens. So, yeah, they are, hats off, some of the hardest working people in that theatre, the tech side. The hours they do are humongous. And I think what Phil has said really does sum it up. Every week it's very different. You never know what you're going to get. They turn up and they just have to play the best hand they get with the cards they've been dealt. I know that's quite different for town because long-haired Si has a bit more, I imagine, free reign on kind of what speakers he needs and where they hit, and the rigging, it's theirs. Whereas on tour, it's like the theatre lends it to you for a week.
Yeah. I've just thought, Long-Haired Si has those amazing videos of him mixing the scenes. So put them on our socials because they're really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Because I think there's this massive misconception with sound. He just puts everyone's mics up who's in the scene.
Yeah.
And that's it. But it's literally like every line, he's putting them up and down.
Yeah, it's really like DJing, isn't it?
It's really cool.
Every line is up and then he's got to turn it down. And...
yeah.
Sister Act.
Long-haired Si on the decks. Rewind. When the crowd say long-haired Simon, rewind.
Tucking all his hair into the headphones.
Oh, yeah.
Just so he doesn't scratch them on the decks. Thank you, DJ Lizzie.
You're welcome.
DJ.
DJ.
No, yeah, it's super important. And that's just, our heads of those departments. The deputies and the number threes, they are like on the floor, backstage, running around, checking batteries, checking levels, fixing things as they go. Oh, can I change your batteries? Oh, your mic's broken, I need to fix it. Oh, the follow spot stage left is far too bright. I'll let them know. And it's all like a really collaborative thing. And hats off to them. And hopefully we can get them on the show and we can ask them some live questions and get some technical answers, because it would be good for me to listen to be honest, because...
You're ignorant.
It's true though, I actually am. Even though I have, when I was a swing in the West End, I watched the show from every department. So when I was an offstage swing and I sat in the sound department substage, I watched the show from the fly floor, I watched it from the follow spots, I watched it from the pit, which was actually in that show elevated above the stage. It like sat up and stage left.
What show was it, sorry?
This was the original West End cast of School of Rock.
Right.
I covered all the parts and went on for some of them. Yes, a lot more goes on than what you think. And yeah, we should absolutely get them on and have a chat about that. You got anything to add?
Just that you're a G unit.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, onto the Dolly feature. Hey, I imagine, I'm not a mind reader, but if my segment about the history of the theatre was really in depth, I can imagine that you've had so much time with Dolly this week. Now it's time to play everybody's favourite game. What did Dolly do? Cue music. Go on then, Lizzie. What's Dolly been up to this week?
Oh my God, what hasn't she been up to? What hasn't she been up to? What she has been up to is waking up at the crack of dawn with Mummy, going for a wee, not by herself. I've obviously had to take her out to do that. And then being left and picked up by the dog sitters, and then being dropped home, and then going to sleep.
How was it? I'm going to purely stick to the script here. How was it this week?
How was it?
How was it?
You'll have to ask her.
Did she speak to anybody along the way?
You have to ask her. She'll answer.
Dolly, did you speak to anyone along the way? No.
You have to do the voice properly.
Dolly, did you speak to anybody along the way? I spoke to no one, spending my days just at the Dark Sitters, chilling my beans with Shadow the pup. It's always sung with her. I imagine she's had lots of fun. She's been with Shadow. She's been with the Russells.
Russell's Animal Adventures.
Did she make anything? I'm sure she made a mess, running around, probably digging in the garden.
And she made people's hearts full with love.
Yeah, she did. Is there anything else you want to add?
Ask Dolly.
Ask Dolly. Dolly, is there anything you want to add? It's so hard being away from Mummy. Only joking. Oh, that's not very nice. She's gone now.
Don't start with me. What you can actually talk about is the fact you're home on Sunday and you've got a week off next week. So what are you going to do with her?
Yeah, this is very true, actually. It's really done my throat. I shouldn't do that voice.
What do you mean I shouldn't do that voice?
I mean, no, sorry, no, that's not what I meant. Whenever Dolly talks, I like mouth along with her because I'm just such a good father. I'm just encouraging. What am I going to do? Yeah, well, we're going to do normal kind of dog dad stuff. I'm going to take the pressure off Lizzie. I can have the dog, so...
For once.
Oh, dear. Shade. Look, like I've said, if there's room in the West End, I'm happy to be in any department. That's fine. I can see Dolly live on screen. Hello, Dolly. You're being a good girl. Well done. Nice to see Mummy for once because she's been in rehearsals all the time, isn't it? You're very spoilt. Must see her about 20 minutes a day.
Same.
So, I'll take her to the puppy park. We'll go to the pet shop. We're going to have lots of fun. I'll talk about that on the next segment because, actually, spoiler alert, she is with me on the next part of the tour. Well, part of the tour. On the next venue. She's with me. So we can discuss that. Anyway, I think that's about... I think that's about it for this week's episode. Next week, the future is bright because Alfie is coming home for a week, whilst Lizzie will be the one travelling up to the Dominion in London's West End. Oh, the sparkles, the smell, the smoke.
The jealousy.
The envy. The anger, the shame. Anyway, you can find us on the social medias at 80 Plays Podcast. That's one word with the number 80, 80 Plays Podcast.
And did you know that you can purchase our theme song, Blue Sky, by Australian band Walken? Yep, you can help support our show and own the full track. All thanks to Drew and the boys of Walken. So thank you to them because we're truly grateful for the support. So if you go to www.thetonistantales.com/bookstore. Right at the very top, you'll see our logo where you can buy your very own MP3 of Blue Sky, which will help us fund this epic adventure across the UK and Ireland. And plus, we can buy Dolly some treats along the way. And shout out to Drew, who's been listening every week. He should totally join Thrash and Treasure as a co-host. Shouldn't you, Drew? When you listen.
Yes, Drew. and if you have any questions, and if you have any questions, suggestions, or comments, you can email us at 80playspodcast@gmail.com. That's one word.
I've got a suggestion. How about you read things out better?
That's one word. 80playspodcast@gmail.com. Well, I think we've made enough bittersweet memories. That is all I'm taking with me.
I'm actually scarred.
So goodbye. Please don't cry. We both know I'm not what you need. My laptop's asking me if I want to set up professional audio in the audio settings. Thank you so much.
Oof, that was awful.
I'm a professional, by the way. You know, they pay me sometimes. This is why I haven't been back in the West End. That's why it's been 8 years. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron is very supportive of me and is loving me this week. I mean, he always is. But see, Lizzie, do you feel bad now for saying I don't wash?